Hello out there. It is Sunday, 8 p.m. Back again. This is Bridge Sky, and you are listening to KISS Recovery 101. I am excited tonight. I got a great guest. He actually was on a radio show recently, the Rise Up Hour, WFNU 94.1. Magic Mike is here. And just in that hour, there was definitely not enough time. There was such good conversation. I had to ask him to join us tonight, and he said yes. So, do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe talk a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just go from there. We're gonna wing it.
Absolutely. Hello, I'm Magic Mike Martinson. I've been in recovery for about 2.5 years. I got 5 months sober now. That's why we're talking about the relapse stuff. Definitely had quite a journey in my life. I mean, I've struggled with addiction and alcoholism. With anything and everything is basically what you got and more of it. So, yeah.
Okay, yes, yes, that's my favorite thing I like to repeat is I'm an addict. So that just means I'm addicted to anything that makes me feel good. Okay, first question before we get into the show, which we're going to be talking about relapse. We're going to talk about some action steps, all kinds of fun things. I got a clip, but mostly, Mike, I got to ask you, how'd you get the name Magic Mike? I tell you, some of my lady friends were like, "Ooh, who's this guest?" So tell me the little story.
Yeah, okay. So, I get asked this question quite a bit. So basically before I got sober, I was like making t-shirts, right? And I was like, gonna start this t-shirt business, and I got a package in the mail. And I was like, yeah, I got my vinyls. I was like, they came early though. That's weird. So I opened this in front of my grandma and my dad, and it ends up being a thong with a bow tie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. My dad's looking at me in disgust, like he cannot believe what he just saw. My grandma just walks away. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I just start laughing my ass off. So then I go and I was like, sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, whoever sent this to me, like, has another thing coming. I'm posting this on Facebook.
Nice.
So I took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. And yeah, I had to take a picture of myself. Like, my grandma refused to take a picture of me. Rightfully so. But yeah. So yeah, I got the nickname Magic Mike from a thong in the mail that still has a mystery sender. And that was about 3 years ago. So.
Oh my gosh, maybe that mystery sender's listening. It could comment in. So listeners, if this is your first time listening, this is a live show on purpose. I want you to interact with us. Comments, questions. We want to engage with you. Okay, so I have to get my head out of the gutter right now. So did you post a picture of you wearing the thong and the bow tie?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh!
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, if I would have known that would have went out with the post. That's fantastic. Okay, well, good. You know what? That's a great story. And definitely anyone that hears Magic Mike, everyone thinks of the movie, the dancing. Are you a dancer?
I am not a dancer, unfortunately. I've been thinking about getting into it for a long time, but I just haven't pulled the trigger, so.
Okay. Well, I bet you got some moves, but okay, we'll move on. Okay, so tonight's topic is a great topic, and what I loved about your story that you shared on the Rise Up Hour, having 2 years, and then having that reuse. It's was that your first ever like reuse or attempt at recovery? And
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, I got sober like the first time actually trying to be sober. Got into recovery in 2020, and yeah, that was like my first go around. Made it about 22 months almost, and yeah, just life happens, crazy things happen, and I go back to my old way of solutions. I kind of forgot about all the solutions I was taught in like the last 22 months and just went back to my old solution, which was drinking. And yeah, it went downhill quick. So.
Well, I find it fascinating because myself now, I've been in programs right at the ripe age of 21, right when I started using. I had problems. And so I have so many reoccurrences and reuses, I lost track. And I do, though, still remember my first reuse, and I remember my last, and they say if you can't remember your last drink or your last use, it's not your last. So I'm thankful that I do remember mine. Do you remember yours?
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, like, I remember drinking that night, but, like, by the end of the night, I mean, I was
Yeah.
down like probably close to 175.
Okay.
And then like looking for meth and fentanyl because I was just sick of everything and bawling my eyes out about life. So yeah, I mean, I would say I remember, yes, but I don't remember the specific time of drinking. So hopefully I'm sober in 20 years, but we'll see.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in you, and I did pre-hand like share the clip that we're gonna play tonight, and you already said, hey, I've been listening to motivational videos, so that's perfect. I find that that's a great way to start your day or your week. Okay, so tonight, if you didn't catch the post, so you can Facebook or YouTube. But what I like about the Facebook group is it is private. So if you wish to remain anonymous, anybody coming from Facebook commenting or questions, I can't see who you are. So you can stay anonymous. So it's KISS Recovery 101. So KISS is a fun acronym. Are you familiar with that?
I am not, no.
Okay, so there's the keep it simple, right? And then I don't know how many years later, somebody's like, no, there's KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I hear that all the time.
And I like that. And, you know, in the moment I felt a little defensive, but then I realized it really, like, made me calm down. Like, I make everything very complicated sometimes. I'm just an overthinker. I love learning, and I love overanalyzing sometimes. And when they said that to me, I realized I actually felt stupid because I was not keeping things simple. And it really helps if you do that. So that's what we're going to talk about, keeping whatever topic we go over simple. And Recovery 101 is just like the basics of whatever we discuss. And so I will admit sometimes it gets off track and we go into other things, but the idea still stands. So tonight is wonderful. So if you caught the title, there's a reason I picked the title. It's The 1 Year Itch. It's such a biatch. And I find for me, I remember my first reuse was right after that 1 year. Now I do have several women that I mentor or guide. And I do notice it's right after that year, you know, and I've done research and they say it's 90 days. You're doing pretty good. You're going to be, you know, coasting it. And I don't agree. I think after that 1 year, it's like you got some solid time under you. You're feeling good. I was feeling good. I'm like, see, I got this under control. Like, I'm a different person now. Like, those things that, you know, I used to use over aren't, you know, in my life or affecting me anymore. I should be good. And it's like, that's when it hit me that, you know, it only took a couple occasions and I'm right back into it, if not worse. You know, they say it's a progressive disease. So, but yes, it says relapse, and I wanted to point this out. So relapse, a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this till recently. Is actually a made-up word, it's a word, but it was actually first created or invented in the AA 12 Steps program. And so in the title, it says stigma alert. The highest risk for reoccurrence of substance use disorder symptoms occurs during those first 90 days following an initial intervention or treatment or whatever. But I said, or does it? A reoccurrence often indicates a reuse of substance use, but more technically, it indicates the reoccurrence and reinstatement of their substance use. So accountability, compassion for self and others, that's what we're going to really talk about. For me, I feel like really when I started to get it was when I wanted to be accountable, not only just to myself, but to other people. And having compassion for myself was key. But we're going to talk about an action plan. So, you know, there's actual programs out there now called relapse prevention plans, right? Okay. So before we even talk about those, I find it was more useful when I started to put my own plan. Because if you do it yourself, you're more likely to want to do it, right? And it's going to connect with you, and it's going to be something that you know your best self, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. So, but the stigma alert is that this term is, for many people, implies a moral failing. Have you heard that before?
I have not.
Okay. So
Say that one more time.
Okay,
Just
so
one more time.
relapse is a term that has a stigma alert on it because it implies that there's a moral failing for many people. And language matters so much. And I've noticed for me, when things really started to change, in my brain, okay, I'm a science nerd, was when my own self-talk started to change. And it wasn't easy at first because I had been so used to beating myself up. So just today, just anybody listening to really start to change A, stigma against anybody in recovery, or B, your own mind talk, your own self-talk, is to start using just one or two different words that are more positive.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't call myself an alcoholic or an addict. I always say I'm Bridge in recovery. I know at first it was kind of scary. I thought people were going to get mad at me. I thought I was going to get looks or talked to or kicked out. None of that happened. But for me, when I understood that how much words really matter, especially to myself, my whole body, posture, my whole body, everything about that, being able to call myself and say how I labeled myself just gave me this like little bit of confidence. Like, this is what I really feel like I connect with. So, Mike, do you want me to call you Magic Mike?
It's up to you. Wherever you're
I kind of want to call you Magic Mike. It just sounds so magical.
Yeah.
So, Magic Mike, let's get right into your story. So, I know when you were on the show, you were really working a program, right? Very active. You were sponsoring, guiding people through trying to get on the program of recovery, whatever program you want to talk about. Okay, the 12 steps, and I love the 12 steps. Okay, because there's so many programs that associate with the 12 steps for a reason, because they work. I mean, they worked for me. Okay, I'll I statements here. So let's just talk about, for you, what was that moment like when you decided, when you made that decision? What do you think factored into that? And then when you just made that decision, and how quickly did you decide that, okay, I'm done with this?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was basically like the feelings behind me drinking. It was like, obviously fear. The big book talks a lot about fear, and it's like how fear drives my life everywhere, and everything I do is based off fear. And it was just like, basically it was like a crippling fears, like a plethora of fears. And then there was also a bunch of resentments that I wasn't taking care of, right? Like, I could say I worked like a really good program. It's like, yeah, I worked a really good program on paper. Like, anybody that I wrote down what I was doing looked really good. But it's like, was I taking daily inventory? I mean, yeah, for the most part, but did I take nightly inventory? Not all the time, you know what I mean? And I quit doing, like, that's like the 1 year itch that, like, I mean, I personally went through. I got to a year, I got confident, right? Like, look at how many people I've sponsored. Guess what? I've talked on the radio. I've done this. I've led meetings. I started meetings. It's like, I've led barbecues. Like, I was the one that started all these things. And it's like my ego got so in control of me that it's like it separated me from people, right? And like, I just got confident. Like, I didn't need to call anybody when I was struggling. I didn't call my sponsor. Like, I know more than my sponsor. And it was just like getting into these really negative self-talks. Like, like it could come off as like, to me, like, I'm confident, like I'm doing all these really good things. It's like, that's not a bad way to talk to yourself. But like, realistically, like, it's still a negative self-talk because it's based off of like bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was like, I don't know, like, there's so many different levels of like what really led me to drink. But I know as soon as I picked up that bottle, like, I went to the liquor store first. I was like at work, couldn't work. I had like a life scenario, we'll just say, like, pop into my life that was like just too much to handle. And I left work out of stress, and I went to the liquor store, and I walked in there, and I'm staring at a bottle crying. And I'm like, dude, like, I can't fucking do this. I'm almost 2 years sober. Like, what the fuck am I thinking? And I walk out of there, buy a pack of smokes, and I haven't even smoked in like 5 months. Super proud of myself at this point.
Yeah.
Lady at the liquor store kicks me out. She's like, get out of here, because I told her I was almost 2 years sober, and I was like, I don't know if I want to be anymore. So on my drive back to the sober house, I just made the decision. I was like, dude, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not going to stay sober. Like, I just knew. It's the negative self-talk once again. Like, there's a positivity. If I can, like, live through positivity, like, if I would have, like, been working a good step 3 or something, like a little bit of positivity in my life rather than that, like, I had none. I was actually resentful towards God for the scenario that had happened. But yeah, I packed up all my stuff like a madman. I packed like 20 garbage bags, like all in like an hour, like trying to get out before anybody woke up or got home. And I went to the liquor store, bought a bottle, and stared at it the whole drive. Basically, got to my old drinking spot, the soccer fields right by Como Park.
Oh my gosh,
The zoo, Yeah, I was at the soccer fields over there. It's my old drinking spot. So if anybody that knows me, if I ever relapse, I'll probably be there. If you want to track me down, yeah. So come there. I'll probably be crying. Yeah, like I basically parked right next to the railroad track and opened the bottle and like looked at it like, do you really want to do this? You know what I mean? Because I know me. Like, I love drinking. Like, I'm an alcoholic for sure. Like, I love drugs. Thought I was going to stay away from the drugs this time. But, it's like, as soon as I took a sip, like, well, sip. See, that's how I know I'm a fucking alcoholic, right? Like, one sip was like 10 chugs. So it's like, I just chugged down this bottle, and I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, this feels fucking weird. Like, I knew right away. I was like, this doesn't work. Right. And yeah, I got home and it was like one day of drinking, drank like over a 1.7, like about a 1.75 basically. Went to work off like 4 hours of sleep, and then like worked that day. I was texting a buddy that's also in the program, and he's like, how you doing, buddy? And I was like, fucking good, I guess. Like, this is bullshit, basically. And I'm like, I'm not coming back, man. And he's like, okay, well, have you touched meth yet? And I'm staying away from all that shit, man. Like, I'm just gonna fuck around and like go to raves and drink, And it was like later that night I decided to get another bottle. Well, went to the liquor store, quoting the big book in my fucking head. Like, that was miserable. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this sucks. Like, I'm taking shots of tequila at the bar and I'm fucking quoting the big book. Like, what the fuck, And I basically left there, went home, finished a bottle, and started looking for fentanyl and meth. And I got 2 friends that told me no. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm cussing both of them out. I'm like, you 2 are the worst. So I was like, I used to get high with you all the time, and now you're going to tell me no because you've seen how happy I am? And it's like just another thing, right? Like, that's how I know I belong in recovery. And it was like that miserable existence of like, damn, I feel like I don't belong in AA. I feel like I don't belong with people that are getting high. I was like, where the fuck do I fit in? And I was just so lost. And my buddy's mom calls me, and she's from down south, and she calls me, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like talking me off a ledge. I'm like, I got all these people trying to, like, from the treatment I went to, the retreat, bomb place. If you guys are thinking about going, it's highly suggested.
Wyzetta?
Yeah. Wyzetta. Oh, I love that damn place. But yeah, it was like they're calling me, talking to mama, and she's like talking me off a ledge, and basically I hung up the phone with her and checked into treatment the next day. So yeah, it was quick. It was a 2-day run, but yeah. Thankfully.
Yes, and I'm very thankful that you didn't get a hold of anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the way things are now, it's could have definitely been your last. And I'm glad it was only 2 days. And I'm so proud of you for being here today to talk about it too. And 5 months is amazing. I mean, oh my gosh, I could go off on a tangent with a lot of those things. So I definitely love that all those people reached out to you. And I love that you jumped right back into it. I know for me, I was very kind of an antisocial person. So I didn't have other people. So when I would go back out, it could be months before I would come back. And it would just be very bad. So it's very encouraging that it was like 2 days. Wow. So backing up, I feel like, yeah, it's like AA planted that seed that ruined enjoying any use anymore. Oh, there's our first. You like it? That's our first alarm.
It was a good alarm.
It's like disco. Okay.
So funky.
So that just reminds us to interact. Ooh, magic, Mike. We got a lot of interactions tonight. Okay, let's read some of these. Okay, it says hi. Facebook user says hi. Ooh, I just had open heart surgery a couple of days ago. Oh. Wow, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for listening. I wonder if that's my friend Earl. Um, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight. Magic Mike is awesome, says favorite user. Another one says, I never, excuse me, I never listened before. I have a gambling problem and I'm staying away from gambling, and it feels awesome not going to the casino. Yes. The 12 steps work for all that
Yes, they
gambling.
do.
Is it what we talked about this, I think, a little bit on the Rise of Hour about cross addiction? Did we even talk? I think we talked about it off the
I
show.
think we did talk about it
How
off the show.
quickly you
Yeah.
can jump
Yeah.
right into another
Right.
addiction
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not as bad,
It's crazy.
but still, like gambling is still pretty bad. It'll still mess up your life. Thank you for joining us, and then you both inspire so many others. Oh,
Aw.
thank you. We got a lot of great people on tonight listening. So I was thinking, okay, before we play the clip, now we talked about this a little bit off the show, and one of the things that is I don't have resentment to a saying on the saying anymore, but it still bothers me. And anytime I'm in a group or conversation, like a meeting where we each get a chance to talk, I'll say something. But if I don't have a moment to have like a dialogue with someone, I won't. But for me, it's a negative. It's like condescending. They say relapse is a part of recovery. So first, I want to get your thoughts on that, because I will say, obviously, relapse was a part of my recovery, right? So what are your thoughts when you hear someone say, well, relapse is a part of recovery? What does that make you think about?
No, I actually really love that question, right? Like, it kind of brings me right back to, like, higher power. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's your version. It's your story, right? And it's like, yeah, relapse is part of my recovery now. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, before. Like, but I drank, so I relapsed. Like, big deal, right? But it's like, what do I do with that, right? And it's like, why I say it's like God, it's like, when I say God, I'm not talking about Christian God. Like, I'm not talking about the guy with the beard. Like, I don't know what the hell I believe in. I just say it because it's easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, it's a simple way to say God. Like, God. Super easy. People hate it. People don't understand it, but it's my version, right? And it's like the same thing with relapse. It's like, that's just my version of the story.
Yeah.
Relapse is part of recovery only because there's so many people in recovery that have relapsed. And, it's like, there's something to that. Like, I don't frown upon the fact that I've, like, relapsed, right? Like, I think it's helped me tremendously. Like, I've learned so much about my addiction. I've learned so much about, like, hey, this is what I shouldn't do in life, right? Like, take an inventory. I should probably just do that every day. I still don't. I would be lying if I said I did, but I try. And it's just like the aspect of, like, the things I've learned off that is why it made it part of recovery, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. Like, I mean, I can see why some people would get insulted and be like, it's not, because I've heard that argument a billion times, and I'm like, well, people are in recovery and people relapse. Like, sorry, it's a reality. It's a harsh reality of the life we live. You know what I mean? It's like, if you don't want that to be part of your recovery, work a really good, perfect program, which will never happen. I mean, it says it in how it works.
The best you can.
Yeah, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, the odds are against us. Realistically, that's why I say, like, almost perfect. Like, you kind of do. Other than that, like, don't get into recovery. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's either you like, I mean, it's just like there's trials and errors, like, in everything, in every facet of life. Like, I'm gonna fuck up sometimes. Like, there's no problem with that. It's just really, what do I do with that? You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. That part doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
That's just me.
Yes. Okay. And here, it didn't bother me before. So I actually had a specific incident. So I lost my kids at one point. Okay. CPS, Child Protective Services came and took them away. And I remember meeting with one of the caseworkers. And she looked at me. She goes, Bridge, relapse is a part of recovery. And if there's anything you want to tell me. And in my head, I'm like, I know exactly what this bitch is doing. I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
But at that point, I hadn't had a reuse. But I was in such a dark state. In my head, I'm like, you know what? This bitch is already accusing, or, in my head, I was so defensive. Oh, she accused me.
Yeah.
She tried to get me to say something. Maybe I should just give her some, give her a reason to be like, so like just, oh, I just remember that moment. So I've never liked that statement. However, I agree with you. It is all about perception, right? And so that's why I had that perception. But I never really thought about it much until someone else I saw changed it up, right? The language piece, and said, relapse is a part of addiction. So a coworker said that to me. But another person that I loved, another positive, even more positive note is relapse is a lack of recovery. And that was me. So I might be going to the meetings consistently, right? Okay. But I wasn't working the steps consistently. Or I might be working with a sponsor per se, but I'm not really doing the inventory. I wasn't doing all the things. And nowadays there is so much out there, right? So really it comes into what is in your control. And the reality is the only thing in your control is you, yourself. That's it. None of the outside things. So once I understood that. And however, here's the conflict. So this is my favorite piece. So yes, relapse, that was a part of my story. But it didn't have to be. Yeah. But my sponsor, Kay, she's got 8 years now. It's fantastic. A lot of people do. I was so thankful that she took me on, but she's never relapsed. That will hopefully never have to be a part of her story. So relapse is not a part of her recovery. So that totally contradicts that statement at all to her. But when I went on a podcast with my friend Sarah, she pointed out it can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that is what happened to me. Hearing, relapse is just a part of recovery anyway. Like, then, that kind of like put this thing in the back of my mind, like, well, if it's a part of it anyway, why wouldn't I just do it, Right. So like that's just an idea of again changing it. Especially Minnesota Recovery Connection taught me, instead of saying relapse, you could say a reuse, because for the moral thing, I think that was my biggest struggle, is the shame, and I had a lot of outside perspectives because I was an alcoholic and an addict. Because I felt so ashamed, really I allowed them to make me feel that, where was I going to go with this? I really felt like I had to say, yep, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. In my mind, I'm like a piece of shit. Like, this is my label. So I know when I really surrendered and I really made that choice myself, my damn self, let me tell you, I went action-based. I stopped thinking. I'm just like, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just going to do the things. And fear, I changed that fear acronym. So forget everything and run was my old fears, right? And new fear now, again, I've made it positive, is face everything and rise. So especially when I get anxiety or stressed out, and an old me would have been like, maybe we should back out. Let's think about this. I'm like, that means I got to do it, as long as my safety's fine or whatever. But even if I don't do it to the best of my, to the whatever, I have really high expectations of myself. Even if it wasn't to the best of my what I thought abilities, the fact that I did it, it slowly gave me confidence in myself, and I started to realize, this vision of the reality is, Christine, my friend, said, Bridge, what people think about you is none of your business. I was like, huh? That's rude. And then I realized we're all thinking about ourselves. Yeah. Sit there thinking about all the things I'm doing or not doing or whatever. And if they are, they just they don't have a life. I don't know. But
take someone else's inventory.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be taking our own.
Yes. And words matter. Yeah. And so let's get into the clip. Okay. You got to hear it preview, but I'm sure I've still listened to it like 10 times and I still don't remember it. So it's only 3 minutes, listeners. And then we're going to get into, so we have 2 fun segments that come along with the show. It's about an hour. So our first segment's called the hot seat, Mike. Ooh, I tell you, I never know how it's going to go because they're never the same questions with any of the guests. It's really fun to do that. I never know how they're going to be answered. But a few guests have been like, wow, I'm really feeling hot here. It's just a little hot under the collar. So, and then the last segment is just for fun, and but I do mind. I pick memes that for whatever reason brought me joy, or whatever I want to talk about. It's called Live Facebook Memes, Magic Mike, and so I want to feel your magic on your views on the. And here's our second alarm. Doesn't it just make you want to get down?
It is good. I'm not gonna lie.
I want like the roller skate, the disco ball.
That's all I was envisioning.
Okay. Well, actually, that is our hot seat alarm. So let's get into the clip, and then we'll jump right into the hot seat. And I actually know, so this time I did write all the questions myself, And one of them is specific to this clip. So we have a clip. Okay, ready? So this is Sally.
Power on.
Thanks, Sally. She's going to get us
Pairing.
hooked up. Okay? So if you want to get, we're not going to play.
Bluetooth connected.
Oh, thanks, Sally. I'm not going to play the full clip, but if you do want to check out the full clip, I've been listening to it. It's very motivational. And what's fantastic is with YouTube and the motivational speeches or videos, I was just telling Magic Mike here that I listen to them, but I always flip it into recovery. How does this work for my recovery, right? So here we go. It's on YouTube. It's called Unbroken Motivational Video. Matuz, how would you say that name of the channel? I'm gonna
Mateusz.
Mateusz, yeah, Mateusz. But I'll go ahead and post it in the comments after the show. But here we go. About 2 minutes. But actually, it might be 3. Here we go. Unbroken motivational video.
Connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.
But you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful. There's nothing as powerful. It's hard to kill the human spirit. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships. Anybody can be positive then. Anybody can have a larger vision then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. The real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. It takes courage to act. Part of being hungry when you've been defeated, it takes courage to start over again. Fear kills dreams. Fear kills hope. Fear put people in the hospital. Fear can aid you, can hold you back from doing something that you know within yourself that you're capable of doing, but it will paralyze you.
At the end of your feelings is nothing, but at the end of every principle is a promise. Behind your little feelings, it might not be absolutely nothing at the end of your little feelings, but behind every principle is a promise. And some of you in your life, the reason why you're not at your goal right now, because you just all about your feelings. You all on your feelings. You don't feel like waking up. So who does? Every day you say no to your dreams, you might be pushing your dreams back a whole 6 months, a whole year. That one single day, that one day you didn't get up could have pushed your stuff back I don't know how long.
Oh my goodness. I get
That's
goosebumps.
good stuff. That's good stuff.
Okay, so anything you want to talk about on the clip? Anything that stood out to you before I ramble again?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, kind of like where he talks about like how fears hold me back from my dreams. You know, it's like I've been working on like a lot of stuff outside of AA that we were talking about earlier, and it was like, you know, like I just started doing like this DJ stuff, and it was like I've done all these trainings, and the whole time I have this fear of not being good enough, you know, and like that's like when I did my first 4th and 5th step, like that was my biggest like character defect of like the fear. My biggest fear, not character defect, but my biggest fear was like not being good enough in anyone's life. And it was like that started coming back, right? And it was like it almost like, like I was sitting there training with all these people. I was like, I'm never going to learn this. I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to do that. And it was slowly like, the language, right? Like I had to change my language. I was like, hey, I didn't know any of this when I first got here. I know how to do this. I know how to do this now. By the time I actually start doing this, I'm going to know enough. I'm not going to be great at it, but I'm going to know enough. And it was like having to retrain that, like that fear away in a sense. And it was like the day of, I had my first event last night. And it was like a few hours away. I wake up in the morning. I was like, I could just call this off right now and just never show up. Call the boss and say, hey, I can't do this. Just all out of fear. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's so insane to me. Like my brain can be so stricken with fear that it cancels out opportunities in my life that will benefit me. It's like first time I spoke on the radio, so scared, right? And it's like, I just do it and it turns out okay. You know what I mean? Like I have such a fear of judgment from everybody around me that it's like it cripples me and like makes me not want to do anything that's going to benefit me. And it's like it's insane how quickly my fear can separate me from everybody, even myself. So it's just, I don't know. It's a good topic. Definitely like that whole thing. So
Yes, and yes, I talk about this a lot on my show is that fear, that inner voice. I'm my own worst enemy, and I call it my inner mean girl because she is such a bitch. And seriously, I know that now, I'm pretty confident in a lot of, speaking and sharing my story and doing all kinds of things. But you're right. It's like my brain now is so wired from my childhood, from a lot of youth times of survival mode. My brain now is so wired to protect me that it's a hindrance. I have to push through that fear. It takes all of a few seconds now to be like, nope, just gonna do it. Gonna stop talking, not listening to inner mean girl because she's gonna talk me out of everything. And I wasn't growing, and I wasn't happy, and I couldn't find things that brought me joy or love or happiness. And I love how in the video it says, so keeping it simple and tying it into recovery. I think the key really is to sit down with yourself or a guide, especially in the beginning, I was not clear-minded. I was very lost and broken. But starting to learn and understand myself. I didn't even know myself. So that's what's so beautiful. That's what I say about the steps for me is like this beautiful laid out program to really get to know myself, to really self-reflect now. Like I do a daily inventory, or I do like a nightly inventory, but now that I've been doing it so much and so long, I do it in such a simple form, but I connect with it, and it's really just a conversation with my higher power at night and just reflecting on my day, and I know in the beginning I would have to write that stuff out, but now just really, it's like meditative almost, that I really focus on that. And right away, if I didn't have a good day, I right away can point out what that was.
Oh yeah.
And then what I always say is, I have my conversation, I look at what my part in it, and then, but if it's still after a night's sleep and I wake up and it's heavy on my heart, I know that I got to talk to someone about it. And it might seem small. I think my biggest problem, similar to what you shared, is like, it wasn't like ego in a sense of like, I was distracting myself. That's what I was doing, is distracting myself. Yeah, I was getting real confident. I was getting really, confident in my recovery. However, for me, when I really started to feel feelings and I started to feel pain and I started to realize I was not happy or, something was challenging, I didn't want to be a burden to anyone else. Here I felt like I'm guiding people, I'm mentoring people. It wasn't like I thought that I'm less of a person or I'm weaker, but I felt like I don't want to burden someone else when I'm supposed to be helping people, right? It's such a conflict of, that's my character defect, is I don't want to be a burden on someone else. And I know that I can figure this out, right? That's what I usually tell myself. I can figure this out. I can get through this. But now I don't even give it a day, because I know if it's hurting my heart or something's going on the next morning and it's on my mind, I got to get it out some way. because it builds up. And that's where you get those resentments and stuff. So, okay, hot seat time. Oh my gosh, this hour is not enough time, Mike. You have to come back on.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Oh, and you get to, okay. And here's the fun part. I have sound effects now, so it makes it sound more intense because this podcast is not video, and I really, really love that. Is the people don't see that I've been doing chores all day. I do not look fancy at all, but it's great because I with just listening, you know, that's one sense where visuals, you add that in, can be very distracting. So, okay, so I do have sound effects. Do you like that? Does it make you a little nervous?
The hot seat, yeah.
It's fire. It's the fire sound effects, Mike. Okay, Magic Mike, here we go. Thank you, Sally. She's just so on it. Oh. She's messing with me. Okay, Magic Mike, here we go. Question number 1. You are on the hot seat. Now, I think you actually kind of already answered one of them or two of them, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll maybe, I'll try, dive into them. Maybe I'll just flip them up a little bit. So question number 1, you can't look. Mike, what's a promise or a principle that you try to live by? If not every day, or just on a regular basis. A promise, I love the word promise, or you can say principle, is something that you really try to live by as it is today.
Ooh, that's actually a really good question. So back in the big book, I think it's 562, Appendix 2, Spiritual Experience. It talks about 3 things I need to do, the 3 essentials for recovery, right? Like, these are the things, like, I should try to be perfect in at all times, right? And, like, I'm a human being, I'm never gonna be, but it's open-mindedness, willingness, and honesty. And I always, like, make that, like, an acronym in a sense. It's like, who do I want to be in recovery? How do I stay sober? Like, like, have honesty, have open-mindedness, and willing. That's the how.
Yes.
And it's like, I've always said that that's, like, super important to me. And it's like, I've found as I've done those more often, it becomes easier. It's like, am I always honest? No. Am I always open-minded? Hell no. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Am I willing? Like, yeah, for the most part. Like, it is often due to excessive misery, like the big book also touches on. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my change comes from the excessive misery. It's actually the 12 and 12, not the big book, that says that. But it's like, I don't know, like, pain always makes me more willing. Honesty, like, I just don't like being caught up in a bunch of lies. That's just so annoying. And I'm brutally honest with, like, a lot of shit. Get myself in a lot of trouble, so maybe I should work on my honesty in the other aspect. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, like, those 3 things, like, I really do try my best to, like, work on a regular basis. Because it's like, if I'm lying all the time, like, I have, like, a whole thing I have to keep up with. And it's just, like, a whole facade that's fake. And then as soon as a group of people knows, like, everything's over. And it's like, that sucks. Like, I used to do that getting high, and, like, oh my God, talk about a shit show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that always sucked. Willingness, like, that was, like, as I was thinking, like, when I was talking about, like, how I thought I knew more than my sponsor, right? It was just my willingness wasn't there to change or listen, right? And it's, like, one of the other reasons why I relapsed. I wasn't willing to change anything. I was like, I'm cool with where I'm at. I don't have to listen to him. And, it's like, because he told me a bunch of stuff. I was like, yeah, you kind of just wave him off. But, I wasn't willing there. And, like, open-minded. Like, I wasn't open-minded to do new things. Like, I knew what I wanted. And that's it. And it was like, look I'm back talking to you with 5 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I lost those 3 things that I actually try to work on all the time. And I drank. Surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay. This is perfect because just to tap onto that, to make it really simple. So this is reminding me of my thought process too. I really thought that I was being the how, honest, open-minded, and willing. And really, I was so, I had so much to work on. I didn't even realize that I was not honest, open-minded. But I think the most important one, especially when you're really trying, it's your first go. Oh my gosh, this is another live. Here we go. Okay, we're supposed to be on the beat, so we're going to go a little over tonight. But that's okay. People can turn it off and listen to it later, but we'll go a little over. So the willingness I think is the most important when you're first starting. For me, just at least being willing to do the things, okay? And with that came I was able to open up a little more. I was such a closed off person. Like I had been there was no trust. It was really hard to trust people in the rooms even. You know? So the willing, it's almost backwards. And then the more willing and more it allowed me to be more open. But here's the thing with the honesty piece. You know, it wasn't like I was this like conniving, manipulative, like tried to lie about things to put on this facade. I had a hard time being honest because I found that it would get flipped on me. I found I grew up in my childhood we had to keep secrets. It was really awful. So it was ingrained in me. If you were someone new, especially, I had no reason to just be open with my honesty. You know, like I needed to really feel like I could trust you before So I'm walking to these rooms. You know, I just remember, and really, I just didn't speak. So that was for me. I just don't speak on nothing, you know. But I feel like with the more willingness and the more openness, once I finally started to make some way and really find a couple people, women that I trusted, and I really could really be honest, you know, those key steps as you go through, I didn't even realize that I was not being honest with myself. Oh my gosh. And that's why I go through stuff so like often. I love going through it with a new person. I get new insights. I didn't even realize how shut down and blocked off I was from myself. So it's scary to think about.
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is scary.
But you know, you're right. It's not a perfect program. And we're never going to ever try to hear that. But where I really like to sit with myself now and literally sometimes I'm driving in my car, you know I'm going to be like, I hate being late. I'd rather be a half hour early than 2 minutes late. But acceptance, right? Whatever page that is. I just know for me, I already accept that I'm going to be late. But inner mean girl starts talking like, you see, you're not good enough. See, this is going to happen. You're never. And then I shut her down and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get there when I get there. I'm doing the best that I can. And that's good enough.
Yeah.
Right? You have to yell at her. It's just crazy time.
I do that all the time. Yeah.
That's why music helps, just play music, but I don't have those inner conversations. Okay, great. Question number 2, Mike, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Oh, you did talk about this. Okay, so what fears, let's say today, present day, I know you kind of already answered this, but if you could think of other, what fears keep you from your dream or goals? What would you say today is right now? You could call it a character defense or just something that's ingrained in you that keeps it's a fear of yours that's keeping you from possibly getting where you want to be.
Yeah, that's another good question. Yeah, I mean, obviously I touched on like the fear of not being good enough. And it's like that's always blocked me from so many different things. Like I can't even explain. I mean, that kind of like touches on all facets of life if you really think about it. Whether it's relationships, family, like, or, jobs. I mean, just everything, right? Activities, whatever it was, even like when I first got sober, like I didn't feel good enough to be a sponsor and I was like 5.5 months, you know what I mean? And I was like, dude, I don't know any of this shit. Why are you letting me be a sponsor? Like this isn't going to work. And next thing you know, I got like 8 sponsees, you know what I mean? And it was like, I don't know. And it's like, I guess I also kind of in a sense have a fear of success to a degree. And it's more so of like being held to a higher standard. You know what I mean? It's not so much of like the success of like, I'm not scared to be a successful person. Like that's not my worries, right? Like I'd strive for success. Like that's why, like, I mean, I'm trying to start like a couple businesses currently, like just, like just doing a lot of stuff. And it's like, I'm not scared of the successful aspect of it. It's more so just being held to a higher standard. Like I'm such a little shit that it's hard for me to like grow up in the areas that I need to like actually be successful, like where it's like I'm that successful image of who is successful, you know what I mean? Because it's like I've been so like programmed by the world, like this is how you have to look and this is how you have to act to be successful to a degree, and it's like that's just not who I am, and I'm not going to change that. Like, I mean, if I get successful, like, oh well, you're probably just going to talk a lot of smack, and that's okay. But it's like, I don't know, like and that's, I don't know, like, I guess I just have a fear of judgment. Like, at the end of it, you know, it's like I constantly think what you're thinking about me, right? It's like, it's insane. And it's like, I always get told, dude, everyone's thinking about what everyone else is thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, I still do it though. And it's so hard, you know, like I go to a meeting, I talk, and I'm like, wow, that sounds stupid. And it's like, then the next thing you know, like after the meeting, someone comes up to me, thank you so much for your share. And I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? But I'm so stuck in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's insane. Like, hey, dude, does my outfit look nice enough? And, you know, and I have to, like, wonder about that because I'm so vain. You know what I mean? It's just, like, it's insane. So it's just, like, I don't know, like, a lot of that, like, the fear of judgment. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I don't think about fears too much. Like, I just don't. Like, I try not to because it's, like, whenever I have something, like, I do it, right? Like, I have a fear of heights. Like, I've gone sky jumping. Like, you know what I mean? And I hate heights. I was just on a roof today cleaning gutters, right? Like, I was, like, and I'm, like, sitting on top of these gutters. Like, I do not want to fall, but I have to do this. Like, I have to tough through this. It's like, so I don't give myself too much time to really think about fears because it's like, why allow myself to be weighed down like that? You know what I mean? It really just comes down for me is not being good enough. And, like, that's about it. Like, it's just the fear of judgment and not being good enough, kind of two in the same, right? And it's like, as soon as I can, like, really get over those, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think about anything else other than those two. Like, those are really my
Those are
only two.
key.
Yeah, so.
Okay, and so for me, yes, I love the 12 steps of the big book, right? Okay, that is my foundation. However, I needed other paths to recovery. DBT helps a lot. However, there's another great book, I know I told you about it, The 4 Agreements. And I mean, seriously, really reading that book and understanding that I have made thousands of agreements since I was a child that were put on me by society, my parents, religion, whatever. Within myself, I had all these agreements in me that aren't me. And so I hear a lot of people saying a lot of, the path of your journey is unlearning those things. And the 4 agreements spells out live by them. First of all, it keeps it real simple. But definitely, not taking anything personally is huge. And it does talk about, people really aren't looking at you or judging you as much as you think. And then at the end of the day, I call those people dream killers. Like, if they're having too much time judging you and saying things about you, in the 4 agreements, it really goes into depth that it actually is a reflection on what's going on with them, right? And we do talk about it in the meetings. Anybody who says, hey, pointing the finger at you, there's 3 fingers pointed back. Yeah. So, and that took time, but I've realized when someone, and here's what's great. The book even says when someone's giving you a compliment. Now, this is going to sound weird, and this is why you got to read the book. Yeah. When someone's giving you a compliment, okay, they say, oh, you look really nice today, or, oh, you do. It's really because within them, they feel like they look really nice, and they're feeling really good. So when someone, and I've been hurt by once that I thought, for whatever reason, it's hard because at first I feel hurt. I feel judged, like, I can't believe they said this about me. That's where I will sit with myself or reach out if I need to, but really think about that perception of, okay, what's going on with them? I usually take some space, give them some space, and then really start with some questions with them. What's going on? We'll talk about why they whatever their beliefs are on me, but really I know it's really within them. Yeah. Even if it's true, even if they're like, man, your outfit looks like shit today. Yeah. Look at it. Okay, right. My outfit does look. But really, I know there's something going on with them. And Tony Robbins is another great motivational speaker, but he says, which stood out to me, he said, if any response that you get from someone in any kind of like more in-depth conversation is either a cry for help or it's in love, in a loving sense. So if it's negative, it's a cry for help. So they might be attacking you, but they don't even realize that there's something inside of them crying for help and wanting a response. So I always think about that. So when my people that I work with come at me with some shit, it's practice. It really is practice. I've gotten so used to being like, okay, what's going on with them? Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that when they're ready. But right now, I'm going to just take a pause on this because it's not, I don't go to negative towers if possible. Okay, great. Last question. Here we go. Mike. Oh, we got way more interactions. Wow. Magic Mike, you bring the magic, the listeners here. Question number 3 that we're going to interact in. We'll get into the last segment for tonight. When a family or a friend, or how about just someone that you're really close with, reuses, has a reoccurrence or a relapse, I hate that word. How do you instantly feel? Truly, how do you feel when you hear, maybe it's a sponsee, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's a sister or someone really that you felt like you knew or you had a good connection, and they went back out. What would you say is your first feelings, or what goes through your mind?
So this is a hard question. It's at first, it sucks. It always sucks. Damn. That sucks. That's what else can I really say to that? But at the same time, it's I've become so numb to it to a degree
Power off.
that it's but it's, I don't know. It's just, I've become so numb to it to a degree where I'm damn, and that's it. You know what I mean? Hopefully they come back. As long as I don't, hey, that dude died. I don't have much worry. As long as they're alive, that's all that matters to me. I would rather have someone, doing what they do than just dead. And, so, yeah, having that attitude about it, I don't know, I've had, a really good friend, when I first got sober, and, he passed away this last year. And I just, as soon as I found out, I started crying. I was damn, that sucks. You know what I mean? And it's I've known a few people to pass away, since I've been sober. And it's just those always suck. But it's I don't know, when someone just reuses or relapses, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's it doesn't hurt, I guess. And I hate to say that. Because it's I just hope they'd come back. And I was told something that actually really helped me when I first got sober, and I think it kind of made me numb to a degree. And it's going to sound super selfish, because to a degree it is, but it's also a selfish problem, right? I was told, when I stay in the middle of the circle and I sponsor all these people, right? When I sponsor these people, most of these people are going to relapse. But it helps me stay sober. And every single person that does relapse, I'm just one step closer being to that 1 out of 10. And it's it sounds terrible saying it, right? But it's true. Every person that I've seen relapse around me just means I'm one step closer to making it to those odds. And it's a reality, right? It's a sad reality that I have to say that. You know what I mean? But it's just true. So it's I don't know, in a sense, I'm grateful that it's not me. I once again, retraining my thought process. I'm just grateful that it's not me at that point. Yeah, grateful that some people get to discover it, so I don't have to that day. I see people come back. I've seen people come back after 2 years, and it's holy shit.
Yes.
It's scary, and I've seen how some people's addictions have taken them a lot farther than they would have probably liked it to, and it's that's also really sad. I don't know, just grateful it's not me.
Yeah.
Just sad to say, but it's just true.
No, I love that you said that. I've never heard someone say that. Okay, I love that, because for me, especially when my first couple sponsees, didn't go all the way, I really I took that hard. I'm a failure. I'm a fuck up. I should not be sponsoring. I had to go to a meeting because I was really in my shit. And luckily, this wonderful guy, Tim, he sat on his little cooler. He called it his soapbox. But when I was actually to a couple of my sisters in recovery, mentioned that, I was feeling this way, and because of these things, they were kind of well, yeah, maybe you should step down. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe it's not your time. And so luckily, this was in the same setting. Luckily, I didn't leave there. Luckily, this guy, Tim, was you know what? No. Here's what it is. You got 1 day sober. You got one more day sober. You have one more day of knowledge, experience, and you can guide them. That's all it takes to be a sponsor. That's a little extreme, just how it comes out. But he's accurate. So, and that's what I found universal is, how I really now love and live in these steps. I live and breathe these steps. Like they're just instinctive to me now, is because I was just like you. I never felt qualified. I'm like, I can't be sponsored. Nobody. Look how long it took me to get through these.
Yeah.
I don't really, I don't, but it was like this moment of responsibility that I felt. And so I dug into the steps way more deep. I learned these steps thoroughly by actually stepping up and sponsoring and being open and going through them with a new person who has a new path and a new experience. I'm learning every time I go through, I learn new at a new viewpoint. So no, and I love that. And that's okay. The reason I asked you that question, there's actually a workshop coming up. I think it's like the 10th of September, but it's called the 1 Year Itch. And I'm really excited. I'm going to help facilitate one of these. So there's going to be multiple people facilitating. And one of the things I'm going to speak on is I had to process when it's someone, especially that I didn't expect to go back out, or when it's someone, you know, just for whatever reason, I instantly feel sadness. And it's not, it's like, it's a disappointment, but it's not like a judgment. It's not like, for me, so when I really process it at the end of the day, what I realized is it makes me feel more alone because I found connection in recovery. And now that I finally, you know, it took me forever, let me tell you, 17 years I wasn't getting it. And so I'm very grateful, and I make a point to really try to stay humble, you know, like same distance to that ditch, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like my heart breaks a little bit because I feel like they're not in this with me. And here I am standing alone, it's a struggle 24 hours a day. That's all we got, right? And so it's like, again, it's that black sheep. It's this, I know it's my inner child kind of thing, but it's like, here I am alone again. I thought this person was with me. We're struggling in this shit together. They're gone, and here I am. It makes me feel alone again. It's just that instant, like, now I'm alone again on this path. This is freaking hard sometimes. Yeah. But I'm excited because in the workshop, I definitely want to more go into processing that in a healthy way. And also, I know it's not that. And I know that it's not that they meant to, you know, they're on their own path. They're going to do what they want to do. But again, for me, I got to flip that switch you're right. It's an instant reminder that could be me. You know, I do have fears. One of my fears is something might, you know, to have that effort moment. I don't foresee that because really I've been through a lot of shit. I've lost a lot of people. But I do know there's certain things that I don't know what I would do, but I've openly expressed that to my inner people. Like, hey, if something like this happens, you better come find me. I don't know. But I can't live in the fear, right? Yeah. And so I don't think about that. I'm trying to instill things around me and in me that hopefully, you know, but I'm human and shit happens and life happens and I can't promise tomorrow. All I have is today. Yeah. Okay, let's get into any final thoughts before we get into the fun time? Magic Mike?
I don't know. Like, that was honestly just thank you for inviting me on the show. Like, it's definitely been fun.
Yes.
Getting to know you a little bit better, so it's always cool. So thank you, and yeah, thank you guys for kind of chiming in whenever you guys could. So I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, sorry, we're not done. Yes, we are. At an hour and 3 minutes. We got to do the memes, Mike. That's my favorite part of the show. Okay, Facebook user said, my dad taught me how to gamble, and I can't live that life. Yeah. My dad passed away almost 2 years ago, and I got a lot of hurt because of my dad. All I can do is forgive him and pray he knew God. Wow. Ooh, that's beautiful. Actually, maybe next week I'll share this great clip. Oprah says, you know, because you forgive someone, it doesn't like forgive what they did. Mm-hmm. But what true forgiveness really allows you is the capacity to forgive so that you can move on. And you can forgive that aspect and forget, like it releases something in yourself. Okay, I can't think of it. I will play it next week. But I love that because my spots are luckily finally, I really did the steps. I had all these people. She pointed out a couple particular ones. Bridge, these are abusers. These are your abusers. You do not need to make amends to these people. Not direct amends, you know, like that's how conflicted I was, you know, thoroughly. And I thought all these things. That's why it's key to go through it with someone, whatever you want to call them. Right. because my own, honesty and thoroughness, I was, yes, but they were on my never list. So when I go through the steps with people, there's direct, there's indirect, there's living amends, and then there's in-kind amends. There is offered the never column, right? And so it's so funny. But turns out over time, I've been able to process those never peoples. And it was because of understanding a different type of forgiveness. It doesn't mean I forgot. It doesn't mean I forgive what they did to me, but I can forgive that they're sick people.
Yeah.
And like a sick friend, right? If I gave them a different face, I didn't have that relationship and they did those things, would I look at them differently? Yes. I mean, I could say that to myself.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, I mean,
Definitely hard.
okay, let's see. Oh, how we present our honesty, LOL. You, a great deal of integrity. Oh, great deal of integrity. I needed this tonight. My neighbor insults my body. It hurts, and I want to put the smack down on her. K.I.S. What I'm reflecting instead. That's great. Reflecting and processing. That's wonderful. Ooh, I want to hear more about that. We're all one unchecked thought away from a reuse. Ooh, yes. Ooh, I got to show that one. That is so true. Thank you for being so vulnerable and true to who you are. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, like I said, the applications co-host is, even if you don't want to consistently monthly, you let me know. You bring the peoples to the tables. Thank you, listeners, for interacting. Okay, so yes, we are all one unchecked thought away from a reuse. That's so true.
Yeah.
That is the point of, the opposite to addiction is connection. Even if you just start with one person and you feel a connection with, start there.
Yeah.
Grow from that. Okay, here we go. More sound effects, Magic Mike. You ready? Okay, so I'm going to hand you my phone so that you don't have to. Okay, well, I think of myself. I have to squint when I see things are too far away. But I'm going to give you my phone so you get the front view. But the listeners also get to see. So what happens, Mike, is I'm going to flash you my favorite memes through the week. Okay, so I screenshot my favorite ones. This is what I do late night and brings me joy. Okay? I just don't go out like I used to. But for whatever reason, I liked them. And now it brings me so much joy to share them with someone. I used to at 2 or 3 in the morning. I was listening, I'll send them to my friends. And they're like, stop sending me shit at 3 o'clock in the morning, Bridge. I'm like, but it was so funny. Okay, so now we get to share them live with several people. And my daughter, actually, I brought her on for Mother's Day. She felt some great sound effects. Do you like it?
Nice. She taught you all this? Nice.
You just never know what you're going to get with these memes. Okay, so I think I have them in correct order here. Again, the listeners actually will be able to see, but it's fun. I do know a couple listeners do not. They have the old school phones. They do not have video. So if you can describe them, just so they make sense. And here we go. I'm going to take this off. And I get lost. Here we go. Meme Bell. Okay, so that's the first one. Go ahead and describe. There's looks like the top and the bottom scene.
Nice. My employer looking at my drug test results, confused because they're clean and saying, "So you're just weird."
Yeah, so this dude's looking at a piece of paper. My employer's looking at the
good.
results. So you're just weird.
Yeah, that's about it.
Do you
Get
find
sober.
that happens?
Oh my god, all the time. I catch it in myself. I'm like, oh my god. It's like I'm not doing drugs and I'm still like this. Like,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. High
I
five.
should go for a high five.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, it's terrible.
I still like sometimes I'm full energy. It's just like I can't. It's nice because I finally read those agreements and I don't give a shit what people think about me. This is me, authentically me, and that's what's nice about being honest.
Right.
Is I don't have to like remember any previous whatever.
Yeah.
I know I'm just being full whatever,
are.
and no one can
Yeah.
tell me any other truth than my own truth. Okay, great.
Scroll.
So scroll this way.
Sweet.
Okay, just words. Meme number 2. What does it say?
If you love someone, set them free. If they come back, it means nobody else liked them. Set them free again.
Set them free again. I just love that one.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Did you laugh out loud?
No, that is a good one. Yeah, I would say laugh out loud. Yeah.
I just remember first reading it.
That's about
I thought
it.
it was gonna be that if you love them, set them
Yeah,
free.
I thought it was gonna be something
and they will
sweet.
come back if it's meant to be. And it was like nobody else liked this. So just set their asses free again. There was a couple people that came to mind. Okay, meme number 2. So go ahead, describe it. So there's on the top. There's the scene with a boy.
So there's a boy and he stepped in something, and he said, "Damn, I stepped in some crap." And he looks at the bottom of his shoe on the second picture that says, "Someone's opinion of how I should live." Ooh.
It's good.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that is about it. Yeah.
Judgments. And
That's a heart.
we talked a lot about that.
That's definitely a heart.
Okay, before there's only 8 of them. Okay.
Okay. You're
just
such a
like-
goofball. It's the small habits, how you spend your mornings, how you talk to yourself, what you read, what you watch, who you share your energy with, who has access to you. That will change your life.
What do you think about that one? So they're not all funny. Some of them are
No,
deeper.
that is deep. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true, right? And I've been working on my small habits a lot. It's like, and that's like, those are the things that keep me stuck, right? It's like when I come into the program or like getting sober, like the big book also talks about, like it's easy to get rid of my big things, the glaring defects, right? That hold me back from everybody, and it's those small little things that keep me stuck and spinning in the mud. You know what I mean? And I never get out of the mud, so I never actually get dry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's like, how do I spend my mornings? Like, am I like waking up late like I used to? And it's like, sometimes still do, but it's like, you know, or am I like waking up, praying in the morning, like being grateful for the morning, or am I rushing out the door? Like, is that how I start my day? You know, how do I talk to myself? It's like, fuck you, idiot, you're late again. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Or it's like, man, this is a good morning. It's beautiful. I can hear the birds this time. You know, or you know, like what you read. Like, oh God, I've been actually like reading things to like improve my life, you know, and that's super beneficial. Like I didn't even read before. Since I got into recovery, I've read so many books, it's stupid. I mean, let alone the big book. I've read that so many times. So it's just, yeah, it's just what you're doing with your life. Like that's honestly like a super good, that'd be a heart. I'd take the heart off the other one and like it, and then heart this one. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that's true. And like, what is it? I listen to, so I get complacent really fast. So like I'll be listening to motivational stuff. Sometimes I get sick of listening to stuff and I need to like do stuff. And like, I always got to keep it fresh. Cause for me, I do get complacent. And I remember someone said, just thinking about what you're thinking, those like instinctive thoughts, like sitting back and why am I thinking this right now?
Right.
But I had
Yeah.
a friend that said the other day, you can't change the people in your life, right? You can't change, but you can change the people in your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, boom.
Yeah. No, it's
Mind
true.
blown,
So
like-
true.
You know, and
Yeah.
I did. I had to cut those toxic people. Just always had negative things to say. They're always just, you know, complaining or whatever.
Right.
And like when I'm really struggling myself, like I don't need any more of that. You know, I call them dark cloud people. And so like day in and day out, you know, like especially if they're family members or friends, you know, people or coworkers that you got to be around.
Yeah.
Like I can take so much of that. And I will, but I'm not going to choose to have them in my life or spend that much time with them, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult.
And energy, you know, you can feel people's
yeah.
energy.
All the
yes.
time.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Okay, this was one of my favorites. So funny.
Okay, ready?
Describe the picture first. It's a cute little kid.
It's a cute little kid sipping on something like that was like from McDonald's, like
A milkshake
like
or
yeah,
something.
milkshake or something.
And eyes are big.
And eyes are big, yes.
Uh-huh.
Me listening to someone vent and realizing they are the problem. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, so many times.
Yes.
Where it's just like, oh my God, just when are you gonna realize it? You
Right,
know?
right. Oh my gosh, the best.
And I'm sure so many people have had that same thoughts about us.
Oh yes. Oh, I guarantee yes.
You know?
I realize yes. Yes, less is more sometimes. But yes, the venting.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And I'll catch myself and be like, okay, I'm done with the venting now. I'm done. Okay, backtrack. Okay, view number 5. Looks like a dad
Yeah.
with his family sitting at
Dad and the
restaurant.
family sitting at a restaurant. It says, Dad, how does a computer get drunk? The family, no idea. Dad, it takes screenshots.
I had to throw that in there. That's totally a dad joke.
Definitely a dad joke.
It takes screenshots. Okay. Ooh, this one I liked. Omnism.
Omnism. The belief that no one religion is truth, but that truth can be found within all of them.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I can't remember where I heard it from. I'm sure it was somewhere in the rooms, but someone told me that it doesn't matter what you follow, it's all doors and windows to the same house. And I was like, oh my God, like that's so good, right? Like it's like I don't care if you're like a Buddhist or Christian or, like Jewish or like what, it doesn't matter. Like I don't care what you believe, and like that's why I say God, because I know what God means to me. People hate that I say God. Like I mean I have friends that like just don't understand why I say God, and it's like I just know what it means to me, and that's all that has to matter. And it's just like I don't know, like it's all the same shit.
Yes.
They just want love. God just wants me to love people. That's
Just wants us to be good people to each other.
That's it.
Yes, I would say that this is me. If I had to pick something, that's what I would give myself.
Yeah. No, I believe in that personally, 120%. So yeah.
I like the word G-O-D. I remember, I had some phases where I was just not happy, so I'm like, guide of direction. I like that.
I liked a good orderly direction.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Same stuff.
Yeah. Okay, this was just funny. This guy looks disappointed.
Yeah, severely disappointed. Domino's be like 2 for $5.99. The total is $24.86. Yeah, and then pissed.
Dude, did you find that?
Oh, dude. So I can't remember what pizza. Me and my friends were just complaining about it. It's off a Grand. Past Lexington. I wish I could remember the pizza place right now. It's in St. Paul, by the way. And I've ordered pizza off there, and it comes, and it was like a $56 pizza.
My goodness.
And I'm like, dude, I ordered like one pizza and a couple sides. Like, this is crazy. And then you eat it, and it was bullshit.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and my buddy was just complaining about it like last night, and I'm like, dude, I know.
Yeah. What's up with that? Well, that's Domino's specifically. I'm gonna call them out, so they get you now. It's $6.99. So 2 of these, whatever I have, I'm like 2 pizzas at $6.99 a piece at 2 times. That's a great deal. However, there's delivery. Well, there's tax.
Yeah.
Then there's a delivery fee. That does not include their tip. They mind you, that doesn't even include the tip. You gotta tip them. So yeah, it's like I thought I was getting a good deal. No, I should have just carried that shit out myself.
It's too good to be true. It's probably too good to be true,
yes,
right?
but at that point, you're starving. And, I went through and got all my ingredients and all that. I'm like, fine. Okay, last one of the night. And it is a longer one. Do you know who Gerard Butler is?
He's an actor, right?
Yes,
yeah.
He's been in quite a few movies.
I did not know he was sober for 20 years.
I did not either.
That's actually really cool.
And read what he said. It's fantastic.
So Gerard Butler, he's been sober for 20 plus years. And this is a quote from him. 1 or 2 drinks were enough for me. I was a foot on the floor all the way drinker. So it had to go. I don't miss it. Now, it's as if I never had a drink in my life. At one point, I could have never conceived going out and not drinking. But as time goes on, you lose the urge and the insecurity that often makes people drink in the first place.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
It's absolutely true.
Okay. It's just funny that I said mic drop.
Yeah.
There's a mic right here.
Was a pun intended.
Yes. But I love that. I was just, he put into words what I was just trying to describe, I think, last week with my, I've been invited out like on a Friday night to like go to, it's like a bar/grill. However, I know that scene, and it was already, I'm getting up there in age. This is 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, I know what it's going to look like by the time we get there and get our food and all that. And for me, no, the bar scene is not a trigger. Like, my obsession has been lifted, thankfully, knock on wood. It's not that, like, seeing people drink and having a good time. None of that triggers me. What now triggers me is I'm sad because I see myself in them. I thought I needed to drink to get a release, to be able to not feel so awkward, to get over my stress and anxiety, to be able to be... But really, it wasn't being me authentically. And that's what I appreciate about every single person in recovery. us doing it together is that we don't get that free pass.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're choosing that, first of all. That's strong. But, like, we're just authentically ourselves, okay? And, yes, I still feel anxiety, especially if I don't know a whole room full of people,
Right.
but the fact that I push through that shit. And so when I go to those, places now and I see people losing themselves, I see that, laughing more or they're acting, it's not authentic. And then and then I said you stay later and you see what really happens, and that could be triggering for me, the traumatic stuff. But it's just a way to, like, I get the escape and release. I don't get normies how they could just have that one little drink and they're good. Oh, I feel like I will leave it here.
I wouldn't even want that.
Yeah, 0 to 10. I'm like, I want this all night, all weekend long, But it wasn't me, and so even though I feel awkward or it might be hurting, I feel my feelings, but I'm proud of myself that I don't care how intense they are. I don't care, good, bad, whatever. That's what I love about being in recovery and having people that can connect with me on that, is because if I push through those, and I know sometimes it's going to be a minute, but it is temporary. That drink or that use is temporary, but every time I feel that feeling and I get through it, it's like another chip. It's another block to build in my recovery. And at the end of the day, my biggest thing that I like to repeat is, I did lose everything. I mean, I had so many not yets. I remember first, no, that's not going to happen to me. None of that. And I tell you, at the end of the day, I did all those things times 10. It was so bad. I mean, to be rock bottom 6 feet under, like, there's trapdoors to those rock bottoms. I say that in quotations because I had so many rock bottoms people would have stopped, and I didn't. It wasn't until I lost everything that even mattered to me that, I finally surrendered. And I gave it all up. I let go of control, my delusion of control. But for me, like, it's like I get to be raw and take me or leave me. That's on you, but I'm being myself. And those feelings that I still struggle, there's still, I do, one of my biggest character defects is distracting myself with positive things. I'll distract myself with this and cleaning and organizing and leading this meeting. But really, I know that it'll catch up with me. But that's why it does hurt when someone goes back out, because it's hard. It's not easy. But the more I do it, the more I'm growing as a person.
Yeah.
I embrace change. And so what would you say last oh, what? I forgot. People still on. Okay, sorry, people. Facebook user says, Bridge, I'm always grateful you come to speak at Grace Counseling. Oh, I haven't been speaking at Grace in forever. Oh my gosh, I wonder who that is. Facebook user, I can't see. I set my ex-wife free, and I'm praying she makes some changes. Oh, there you go. Oh, I wonder if that was more of the funny meme or there's some seriousness to that too. But I do believe that nice one. If you set someone free, like if you ever read The Alchemist. I'm really not that much of a reader. Lately, I've been reading a lot.
Yeah.
It's been another distraction. I got too fed up with the podcast. But it said you have to let them go. You have to let them go after their dreams and be who they are. And if it's meant to be, they will come back and they will be better. And it was meant to be. But if not, either way, it's not. You can't control or keep anybody. And last one says, I really made a lot of changes, and it's for the best in life. So this time around, what would you say you're doing differently? Or what would you say, nothing changes if nothing changes. What would you say definitely this time around you're making sure that you've changed, that you just,
Yeah, that's another really good question. I feel like I'm back on the hot seat. Oh no, no, it's okay.
Final thought.
Yeah, gotta get those flames back. No, so yeah, basically, like, I just, first of all, staying away from like relationships. Like, I gotta really focus on me. Like, that's super important in my life right now. Like, I'm just like really focused on what's going on in my life. Also realistically, like, looking at myself and being like, dude, like, I'm not even in a place to like get into a relationship, so why even try, right? But like, I've done a lot of things differently. Like, I mean, like, first of all, like, I started going to therapy. I went to the gym. I've lost like, what is it, like 24, 25 pounds now.
Wow.
In the last 5 months. And it's like I'm actually like talking nice to myself, and like, I don't know, like I said, I was kind of like getting into trying to do like side work and like start businesses, and it's like I like just I mean today like I did a bid last week on a job cleaning gutters, so hit up your boy if you need your gutters cleaned. You know, and it's like I just did that, and it's like, you know, like had the fear of that, like, man, do I do this or not? And it's like I just did it, and it's like rather than living life off fear, I'm trying new things, like building a life for myself that's actually worth living.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean? And it's like I'm actually like putting stuff into a 401k. I'm like investing my money smartly that it's like I'm not wasting it. And it's like I'll actually have like a future rather than just like I don't pay it. Like I didn't pay taxes for a long time, and it's like I didn't have a savings fund. I didn't do that. Like I still don't working with my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like actually putting money away for my future and like trying to save my money and going on vacations, trying new service commitments, and I'm like I don't know, I'm just trying everything new, trying to find balance, which is really hard, especially like how fast my life has got big in different areas that I'm not used to. So it's like, it's been pretty crazy, but it's like, I used to hit so many stinking meetings where it was like, I was so overwhelmed, that it was like, it was hard to like live a normal life because I was so overwhelmed with AA.
Yeah.
Like I was overdoing everything that I did. So it was like, I don't know. Like, I'm actually, like, just trying to find a balance in my life, I guess you could say. Yeah. I don't know.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes, and so when I finally took advice, and now I've been, now I just started trying to date again. That's been fun. But I really took that year. There was no time, like, frame, but really just being in it sounds cheesy saying it out loud, but being in a relationship with myself. Because for 40 years of my life, Mike, I didn't even know who I was. Like, I really took this year of doing things, going on dates, you could say, with myself, or just doing things just to do things. But I love what you said, a life worth living. And for me, being a person in recovery, finding out even what that means to me. I didn't even know what that was, what that looked like.
Kidding.
So... Okay, listeners, thank you so much for listening. Magic Mike, thank you again for joining. Does time fly? I did catch
Time
your
definitely
yawning
does
a couple
fly.
times there.
I've been
So I'm glad
running
you stayed
all
awake.
day, all weekend. I've been
Yes,
running, so.
I'm so glad that you got to do your DJ gig. Like, shout out to that.
Yeah, shout out to like Instant Request. If you guys want a DJ, request Mike, DJ Mike. So.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, everybody, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening tonight. Checking in Sunday's just a great day to like recharge, you know, like reflect on the week and then just start the week off right. So, all right, everybody, have a good night. So thanks again, Mike. All right. Oh, I have inspirational music that I play. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, thank you guys, everybody. So hope to see you guys soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.